Take me on home to the asylum. Never alone in the asylum. Anarchy ruled, it was wild, but through it all you never smiled. Joke's on you, I'm in your head, so look who's laughing now. Remember in Arkham City, I killed your girl, so pretty. That was the night you let me die. But when I looked you in the eye, that's when I knew we'd be together. Look who's laughing now. I'm stuck in your head and I'm laughing. I fill you with dread and I can't stop laughing. Your parents are dead and I can't stop laughing. What else can I do? Now I'm part of you. I am the clown, prince of crime. And we've had a hell of a time. You're part of me, I'm part of you. And now there's nothing left to do. I just can't wait till I'm in control. Who'll be laughing then? I drove you round the bend and I'm laughing. I'm with you till the end and I can't stop laughing. I killed all your friends and I can't stop laughing. Oh yeah. Think I can taste your fear. Now that my time is near. I'm in your blood, I'm so alive. I only wish you'd let me drive. It won't be long till I make you kill. Who'll be laughing then? Barbara's dead and I'm laughing. Jason Todd's dead and I can't stop laughing. I'm even dead and I can't stop laughing. What else can I do? Now I'm part of you. I drove you round the bend and I'm laughing. I'm with you till the end and I can't stop laughing. I killed all your friends and I can't stop laughing. I'm cock-a-doodle-doo. All because of you. I'm stuck in your head and I'm laughing. I fill you with dread and I can't stop laughing. Your parents are dead and I can't stop laughing. I'm laughing. I'm stuck in your head and I'm laughing. I filled you with dread and I can't stop laughing. Your parents are dead and I can't stop laughing. What else can I do? Now I'm part of you.
Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm glad to have you here to talk about games, to talk about Starfield fanboys that are very upset, all the good stuff. Yeah, she's an ethical thief and I can't stop laughing. Yeah. Oh, man. You can't make it up. It's somehow so much worse than any of us were braced for. And that almost, that almost makes me appreciate it more, you know, like, yeah, using Columbus as a verb. And they thought she'd be received as cool. Again, just like, let that settle. It's amazing. It really is amazing. I was thinking about this also last night. You remember they announced Gotham Knights and Suicide Squad at the same time? And I remember back then saying, well, Gotham Knights probably not going to be that great, but Suicide Squad is probably going to be what Gotham Knights wants to be. And funnily enough, it's kind of been the opposite. You know, both were not great, but Gotham Knights was at least like a game that you could play, and it wasn't amazing, but honestly, after all of this Suicide Squad stuff, I actually I miss it. I wish we had it. Oh, but what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? You can't do anything. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. Because there was a time where it was like, you know, Rocksteady could do no wrong, which it's pretty remarkable. Pretty remarkable when you think of it now. But what are you gonna do? Space Marine statue's awesome. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. Yeah, no, it's pretty schmexy. I'll tell you what. I'm spoiled. It also weighs like 100 pounds, so I can't. Somebody was asking why can't I put it there, like swap it with a castle? Because if it's there, even like the steel of this shelf sinks. It's that heavy. It's like setting a 15-year-old kid to just sit there. Like it's heavy, man. It's real heavy. Oh man.
Blake Rogers donated $5 through Super Chat.
Thank you, Blake.
I really hate the revisionist history that objectively bad games like Fallout 76 was always good. If I hear that about Suicide Squad, I'm gonna lose it.
Yeah, I think with Fallout 76, because people have asked, like, is there going to be a redemption arc for this game or for that game or for Concord back before it was taken offline? People were saying, oh, I'm sure this can have like a No Man's Sky redemption arc. The difference, though, between Concord or Suicide Squad and something like No Man's Sky, or even Fallout 76 or Cyberpunk, whatever, is that people wanted those games to a certain extent. Like, people were interested. No Man's Sky, the reason it was such a catastrophic flop was because expectations were so high. And then once the game came out and those expectations were not met, then people became really upset. With Concord, from the announcement, people weren't interested. Even with Suicide Squad, to a certain extent, people were like, really? This is what we're doing? Like, and the problem with Suicide Squad is just that people were hoping it wouldn't be what they were promising, you know? So it's kind of like the flip side. They advertised Suicide Squad as like this narrative heavy game. You remember all the advertising where they were like, there's more cutscenes than in any game we've ever made. And we've done more vocal capture for any game we've ever made. And they tried to really frame it as this is going to be a narrative heavy thing. And then they, people got their hands on the game and realized, nope, it's just a looter shooter. Like it is exactly what you think it is. And so I just think it's the opposite. Like, it's just an inversion of that. So I don't think Suicide Squad has like a remarkable redemption arc. Also because I think that the second season 4 drops, they're just going to walk away. I mean, I kept waiting for the numbers to come out for Suicide Squad, for the Steam numbers to come out and for it to be more impressive. And it's kind of crazy. They had a 24-hour peak of 248. 248. That puts it like at the same level as last Sunday before this new season started. Like there is no spike in players. The same number of players are playing it. So it's not bringing anybody new in. And even the people that are coming in to try it, they're mostly frustrated. Like, even on their own subreddit, the few people that are still defenders of the game are like, yeah, this ain't it, fam. Lawless, not that compelling. So, meanwhile, Skull and Bones out here slaying in comparison. With what, 20% more players? 20% more players? Whenever you put something into like percentages, it always sounds much more profound. You can be like, wow, there's 20% more players in Skull and Bones than in Suicide Squad after their new season. And you're like, wow. You realize it's like 50 players, but still 20%. It's the it's the old, I think it was Mark Twain that said it. In life, there's lies, damn lies, and statistics. Which I think is true. You got to be careful when you hear people throwing out that stuff, because it's really easy to twist it. It's really easy to twist it. Anyway, so that's a thing. I don't expect it to have some mighty redemption arc. For Fallout 76 specifically, though, I do agree that there's been a lot of revisionist history with it. And if you play it now and you like it now, that's awesome. I'm happy for you. I'm glad they got it to a point where people can enjoy it, because at launch, a lot of us were braced for them to just abandon it. And to their credit, they worked their butt off. They worked their butt off and did not abandon it. And it seems like that was mostly up to Pete Hines, who has since retired. But he was like the one guy at Bethesda Softworks and ZeniMax that insisted on finishing the games that they started. He's like, if we launch something and it doesn't work, okay, let's work till it's ready. Let's work till it's good. And that doesn't seem to be the modus operandi now, but what are you going to do? So anyway. Okay, close that. What else do we have? We've got some context around the Shadows delay. I guess we could talk about it. People were asking about that. I just didn't think there was enough to really cover. It's just kind of confirmations of stuff that was already leaked. But I guess we could talk about that. I did trigger the hell out of some Starfield fanboys, which was funny. I just posted a quick little tweet just saying I finished Shattered Space accidentally. That was just because I didn't think I was going to finish it that night. I was just playing it. I was like, I'll put some hours into it just to get like established, and then I'll film like an I tried showing the biggest stuff in the expansion. And then it just is over. And I was like, oh, it's over. Oh, okay. Cool. And so I continued to play it the following morning. So yesterday morning. And it's just not good. It's just not good. It's super short. It's super small. They did handcraft stuff, but it's still boring. The writing's boring. It's basically just a carbon copy of a movie from the 90s for the first hour and a half, and nothing else they do is particularly interesting. So I made a little tweet just describing as much, and I said I can see why they didn't want to send review codes out before launch. And people proceeded to lose their minds. And what I found interesting is like people were not like countering anything said. They were just saying, well, if you don't like it, why are you playing it? Like, I will not understand why someone who seems to hate Starfield so much just keeps consistently covering how disappointing it is. It's almost like I am a fan of Bethesda Game Studios, and I'm disappointed to see how far they've fallen, and I want them to do better, which is why I cover them and talk about how bad the bad is, and I'll praise them when they do something good. But it's almost like I want them to be better because I'm a former fan. Meanwhile, the fanboys lose their minds and they're like, no. You have to praise it. You have to say that it's great. You cannot possibly critique it because that's just disallowed. You're not allowed to do that. And all the while, other people are playing it. And even somebody like Maddie, who he runs an actual Xbox focused podcast. Maddie is not like a Sony pony. Say what you will about Maddie. He is not a Sony pony. He is an Xbox fan, and he is an old school Bethesda fan. Like, he loves it. And he roots for them through and through, and Maddie, he'll call it like it is. I know some people meme on him because he's a Bethesda fan, just like people meme on me for being an Assassin's Creed fan historically. But even he came out and said, I'll have my review out tomorrow, but to put it bluntly, Starfield Shattered Space is not good at all. The exploration is still somehow extremely lacking. The main story is ridiculously short. It ran like crap on Series X performance mode. There isn't any new companions. Andrea barely reacts to what happens around her, despite how the base game builds her story, and this list goes on and on. I'll go into more detail in the video, but Angry doesn't even begin to describe it. What happened, man? How is this the response to the criticism they faced at launch? And he says, to be clear, because I know how Twitter is, I enjoyed Starfield a lot at launch. Did I like it more than Fallout or Elder Scrolls? No, but I put over 100 hours in it, and I was very excited for the DLC. Nobody wanted to champion this more than me. And you even start to see people losing their minds at Maddie, starting to freak out at Maddie. And basically all anybody's saying is that if you don't like it, you rushed it. Or if you call it short, you rushed it. I have a pet peeve when it comes to certain narratives, and Bethesda's guilty of this a lot, actually. Fallout 4 being the most clear example, where they create a story that has urgency in it. And then if you take the story seriously, you will rush, quote unquote, through it because you're taking the story seriously. So in Fallout 4, obviously, the story is about you finding your kidnapped child. If you are role-playing even a little bit, you are, like, you will take it seriously. You will chase down whoever stole your child, as you should. That's role play. And I think that that's a powerful emotional hook to keep players engaged and keep them going. But then to complain that players are focused on the main story and are focused on that for the first 20 hours of the game, and then they're frustrated that the main story is lackluster or is short or what have you. That's not the player's fault for taking the game seriously and meeting them where they're at. In this DLC, the main story is very short, and they do instill this urgency, this pressing urgency for you to help them. And frankly, you know, I at the outset, I'm not a big fan of the critique of like, you're playing the game not the right way. You need to play it this way, and then you'll have fun. It's like, you know, the Soulsborne purists who will say, if you don't play, like if you play the game with summons, you're playing it wrong and you won't have the true experience, right? Or they say if you go through and you use guides at all, then therefore you're playing it wrong and therefore your opinion is not valid, that type of thing. So already I'm kind of turned off by that type of counter or attempted counter. But I just find it really interesting how the people defending the DLC don't counter anything specifically, except perhaps a couple of these points. So, like in general, what they do is they just accuse you of playing it wrong or of being dishonest or disingenuous. Meanwhile, they haven't played it or they won't talk about it specifically. They'll just say, like, they'll attack you. It's literally ad hominem attacks to counter what you're saying. You didn't like the DLC for A, B, C, D, E, F, G reasons? Well, you're a stupid poopy pants. Like, that's not a counter to anything anybody said, okay? So already it kind of discredits their attempted counter. But the one thing people have countered is saying with new companions. There are people saying there are 1 to 2 new followers / companions that you can get in the expansion. However, people who have finished it have varied reporting on whether they've been able to recruit them or see them at all. Well, not see them because you see them while you're going through missions, but like actually recruit them as followers. It seems like there's a bug or there's something happening where some people are not able to get them as recruits. I haven't been able to do it, and I've tried to follow the Reddit posts explaining how they, like other players have done it. So it seems like there's some bug where certain people just can't get it or can't, like aren't prompted to have them join. But even if it's not a bug, and we're just doing something wrong, clearly it's not a major part of the DLC if people are finishing the expansion and are still not sure whether there are new companions or not, you know? Like either way, something went wrong if people are finishing it and still don't know that that's there. And then same thing with the Andrea stuff. People have been saying that the Andrea, basically she is tied to this faction that is like part of the story. And so people are bringing Andrea as their companion through it, but she doesn't have hardly any dialogue. She doesn't really throw anything out. You remember like Nick Valentine in the Far Harbor DLC for Fallout 4? He has all this unique dialogue and all these unique perspectives and stuff on what's going on. People were expecting that, and that just doesn't happen. There are scattered reports that Andrea does actually say that stuff. You just might have a bug where she's not saying it. but nobody's provided video evidence of that or anything as far as I've been able to tell. So again, it's this weird spot where we don't know if it's actually there or if it's just bugged. Classic Bethesda situation. Like, is it a feature or is it a bug? You don't really know. But either way, I think it's just a matter at the end of the day, like these expansions, there's a certain amount of like subjective opinion where you might really like the story around the snake cult and you might find it really compelling. Cool. I found it really boring, painfully predictable, and basically the first hour and a half is just a carbon copy of Event Horizon. So I just didn't find it that compelling. But that's like a subjective thing. You might like the story, I might not, so be it. There are other things, though, where we can compare objectively and look at value propositions to see whether or not this is a good value. And frankly, when you compare this expansion, quote unquote, in the quantity of content and the quality of the content, it does not hold a candle to Far Harbor in quantifiable ways. It is very short. There's only really 2 new enemy types. There's kind of like a melee focused brute guy that charges you. And then there's sort of like these regular sort of enemies from the base game, but they're like all sprinkly and shiny. So maybe you could say those. And then there's like the void spawn basically that are like spider looking creatures, crab creatures. And so you can point to like a couple new enemy types, but that's about it. Okay, whatever, not the end of the world. There might be a new companion, but even people who are finishing it are not sure because it seems bugged. And so that's up in the air. And there's no new like vehicles. There's no new rover customization. There's nothing in terms of there is like a house you get after you finish it, but it's just like any other, house that you can get in the base game. There's allegedly 2 new habs you can get for crafting after you finish certain quest lines, like 2 habs. And all of this is $30. And when you compare it to something like a Phantom Liberty, a Hearts of Stone, a Blood and Wine, I think Blood and Wine was what? How much was Blood and Wine? Was it 20? Or was it 40? I mean, currently full price is 20. I don't remember how it was at launch though. Was it 20 back at launch? Max? It's just 2022. I think it was 20. I'm pretty sure. But whether we look at that or we look at something more recent like Shadow of the Erdtree, Phantom Liberty, or even Far Harbor itself from Bethesda, 8 years ago? This is nowhere near that quantity or quality level of content, especially for $30. It only is a good deal when you remember that Bethesda has been charging $7 for quest lines in their creations shop. And those quest lines are regularly broken or feature like a gun that doesn't reload even months after launch. And then it seems like a good deal, but only because they usually have things priced egregiously. So all of this, we need a shirt that says this, all of this to say, I think it's really telling that a lot of the sycophantic fans are refusing to acknowledge what is plainly evident, which is that this is not a good value. You might like it. It is not a good value, and it does not deserve your defense on that point. You can say you like the story, cool. You can say you like the art direction, that's fine. But in terms of quantity and quality of content, it is severely lacking for the price point. And to pretend otherwise just makes you look foolish. It just does. And maybe you don't realize that, but I'm telling you it does, because the more people that try this themselves and play it themselves, the more people are going to realize who like the hacks are, who are just trying to defend it for the sake of preserving access or because they want to be on Todd's good side, whatever. Maddie, to his credit, he's done interviews face to face with our Lord and Savior, Todd Howard. He's spoken to the dude on many occasions. He's done interviews with him. And even he is not defending it or pretending as though it's magical and fantastic and is actually really, really good. It's just haters that don't like it. Even he's like, it's just not that good, guys. And that will preserve Maddie's credibility. That makes people take Maddie's opinion seriously, because he's not trying to defend it just to pat BGS on the head to retain access or whatever. You know? And I think that deserves a lot of credit. It really does. That's why I like Maddie. So to his credit, I think he is calling it like it is. And you know, even if he did like it, that would be fine. But I think it's all the more admirable to have an opinion you know your fan base and your audience is not going to like, and to still put it out there. I think that's admirable. I think that's admirable. So, because it would be really easy, and there's been some, maybe they're working on reviews or something, but there's some like Xbox, Bethesda focused creators out there who are like, have played this and noticeably have not made reviews or talked about what they think of it. And I think it's because if they don't like it, they're just not going to say so, or they'll say so in like an offhand comment in a video. Yeah, it wasn't my favorite. And they'll move on because they don't want to deal with the blowback from the rabid Bethesda defenders. So I think it's really interesting. I find it fascinating that so many people are willing to rabidly try to defend something that is so transparently bad. It's quite funny to me. And we'll see how it plays out over the coming days as more people try it, especially over the weekend. But maybe the takeaway is like the fans just have more time to sit on X freaking out about negative opinions because the expansion was so short, so they don't have anything else to do with their time. They expected to have that time playing the expansion, but after 5 to 10 hours, they're already done, and so now they just need something to occupy their time. I don't know. Either way, it's really funny. But now we get to talk about cool stuff. Because we're done with the expansion. We did our time with Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League yesterday. Shout out to all of you guys for helping. You guys are fantastic for helping me get through that. And I think it was entertaining. You know, even though it did give me a migraine, it still, I think, is interesting enough to check out, because it's just like a car crash that you can't look away from. It really is. Really, really is. Oh yeah, did you guys see that they're moving Valorant to Unreal Engine 5? I don't even really know how that helps, but I guess they're doing that. Okay. Yeah, they, in case you missed it, they did like a big 5.5 Unreal Engine reveal thing where they talked about a bunch of improvements coming to it. Tons of stuff. Let's see. Oops, I didn't have the right tab open. Please hold. I need to catch up on all these. Mick, thank you for resubbing with Prime 2 months. Ooh, baby. Thank you, my friend. Nijuzen, I think. Thank you for the tier 1. Also over on Twitch. You're fantastic. Appreciate you. Thank you. Severtaha, thank you for that. Love from Turkey. Love to you from Colorado. SG, hi there. I'm a gamer from Singapore and I enjoy all of your gaming talks and news. Thank you, my friend. Glad to have you. Welcome, everybody. Okay. Here we are. Let me catch up on these real quick. Let's see. I read Blake super chat. Thank you for that again, Blake. Rango, thank you for the 2. Elder Scrolls 6 will suck, and Bethesda will blame the hype. Wasn't there somebody that already was trying to get ahead of it? Wasn't there? Won't live up to the hype. It was like a former producer or something. Right? It was like a former producer. There was a story about it. I can't remember who said it though. Pooh. If anybody can find the article or can Google that, maybe throw it in chat, because I do remember there being a story about it. But I do think that this has affected the interest and hype in Elder Scrolls 6, and I feel for the hardcore fans. My point with all of this, and the reason I still cover Starfield stuff, is for one, because people are interested, sort of morbidly. But I think the reason people are interested and still watch those videos that I do on it is because they are former fans like me. There are lots of people who like or have historically liked BGS games and don't like the current ones and are frustrated in the direction they have gone and want them to do better so that Elder Scrolls 6 lives up to their hype. And pretending as though that is not true is not helpful. Like, pretending as though everything is actually amazing doesn't fix anything. It's the hype that makes you stupid. It blinds you to the problems, and it justifies the developers' laziness. It's why Maddie deserves a crap ton of credit for saying that he doesn't like the expansion. It would be really easy if he didn't like it to just not say anything. To just be like, yeah, I played the expansion. Not my favorite they've done. Anyway, I won't be able to get a review out. I'm just really busy right now. It was super easy to do that. But instead, he comes out and says it. And I think that that's awesome. I think that's awesome. Because, like, it's really easy, let's be honest, for, like, BGS to hand wave away my opinions on their stuff at this point. They can just be like, he just hates our stuff. He's a hater. But Maddie, you can't really do that. You can't hand wave Maddie's opinion away as just a hater. So hopefully they listen to it, but it's only once you listen to the feedback, the critical feedback, that you can make improvements. And I thought the most telling part of Maddie's tweet, which I think reveals a serious problem. He said, I'll go into it in more detail in the video, but angry doesn't even begin to describe it being how he feels about it. What happened, man? How is this the response to the criticism they faced at launch? I think this shows pretty clearly they're not concerned with the criticism they faced at launch. And that was reflected in Todd's answers to Maddie in his interview, and the interview he did with Greg Miller, for example, where he said, there were some people that liked Starfield a lot and some people that liked it less. When people didn't like the exploration, what did the customer service reps within BGS, within his own company, what did they do? They said, well, the astronauts, they weren't bored when they went to the moon. And we meme on that, but it's important to remember that was an actual statement that came from employees of Bethesda Game Studios, their customer service team. Actual employees said that. Like, actual employees said that. And that reflects the company culture. That reflects the vibe there. And, people are saying in chat toxic positivity. And I do think that there's an element of that. If you do not consider any critical feedback, and if you're a part of like the Game Pass infrastructure and you no longer have to worry about selling individual copies, why would you try extra hard to win over the people who are more critical of you? Like, why would you? You have no reason to. There's just no reason to bother with it. So I just think it's really important to call these things out, to be real about it, to be straightforward. Otherwise, it doesn't help anything. And I think this expansion is what you'll get more of. It's a lot more mediocre content, cut corners, where they just didn't really push the boundary. They clearly didn't try their hardest at the very least. And they'll keep doing that unless their feet are held to the fire. But so long as like the fan base keeps responding the way they are on like X, calling anybody who didn't like it haters or hate farmers, or like you didn't actually play it, you rushed it, not realizing it, like we played it on stream. So long as they do that and defend it and hand wave away the criticism, it won't get any better. It won't. But that's why, again, Maddie does deserve a lot of credit for this, because they won't listen to me pretty clearly, but maybe they listen to Maddie. Maybe they listen. I don't know if Juicehead's done a video or something, but Juicehead covers their stuff all the time. Maybe they'll listen to him if he comes out and is like, you could have done better. Maybe then they listen. But so long as people are defending it to this extent, it's not going to make any difference. It's not going to get any better. Let's be honest. Just won't. So, anywho, I made a big coffee. Like I filled it all the way up with ice. I put like our sugar-free syrup in it, and I brewed the espresso stuff. And I went to the fridge to grab the milk to pour in as like the base. And we had like barely anything. So this is like 4 shots of espresso with a dash of of cream. Like it's very, very minimal, but it's pretty good. It's getting me going. Tell you what, bada bing, bada boom. Anyway, Blake, thank you for the 10. I noticed that there have been a lot of bad DLC this year between Starfield and Suicide Squad. It's pretty sad. After getting Phantom Liberty last year, even Mortal Kombat have been getting a lot of flack for their DLC. I think there's also been an assumption with a lot of these things where they feel they don't need to sell the DLC to you because a lot of people have it as part of pre-order bonuses. So for example, like for Starfield, a huge number of people bought the premium edition, the deluxe whatever edition back at launch to play it early. And that also came with the first expansion, Shattered Space. And as a result, I don't think Bethesda really needed to put their best foot forward here because they already had sold it. Like the people that are potentially going to play an expansion to Starfield is already pretty small, but it's made up of people who are probably fans or still playing Starfield, the base game. And of those people, they're almost certainly the diehard fans that bought the season pass for the expansion already. So they don't need to win over a ton of people. They don't need to do this big Phantom Liberty thing to prove that they still have it. Like Phantom Liberty for Cyberpunk 2077, that needed to be amazing. They needed to show and prove to everybody that was a fluke. We still have it. Look at what we can do. There was a lot riding on it. And you saw it in how they put it together, and it really was fantastic. But I think that this is an example of an expansion where they could just phone it in because they didn't need to push. They didn't need to prove anything because it had already sold. The people that got it already had it. You know, it's just not a problem. As for like, I imagine it's the same thing with Mortal Kombat, with Suicide Squad. You know, they figured at 3 seasons in, the people who would be playing with Lawless were already fully committed. Like they were going to buy and grind every season. They were going to buy every skin. Like if you're still playing that game after 3 seasons, you're pretty much hooked. They thought the number would be bigger than 200 people, but still. What are you going to do? Phoning it in since 2015, let's be honest. I do think that there was a pretty big shift in the management at BGS around that time, specifically around the 2018 era. And I would not be surprised if there was a little quid pro quo where maybe Todd got some equity in ZeniMax in exchange for pushing the live service stuff. Because it's right around that time at E3 2019, you remember, where Todd went up on stage with Elon Musk, and I was there in the audience, and he was doing this weird bragging thing, talking about his Tesla and how he maxed out all the options when he ordered it. So he ordered this like $100 and something thousand car. I'm like, bro, you're trying to flex on Elon Musk. You're not going to win. Like, it's just really awkward and weird for everybody in the audience. And I'm sure for Elon too, but it was just odd. And then, you know, he started wearing, the really fancy watches and stuff, which I love nice watches. I love nice clothes. I love nice cars. Everybody does. No shade on that. But I think the point is that at some point during that era between like 2016 and 2020, it seems like Todd came into a lot of money that he didn't have before, because he wasn't doing that stuff or wearing that stuff before. So it makes me wonder if there was some quid pro quo where Todd got an extra bonus or a payout or something. I don't know. It's all speculation, but I would not be surprised if there was something there. And honestly, if you get to the point where you are like, you have FU money, then you're good. You know, why would you spend 18 hours a day in the office making sure the game is perfect when you could spend 8 hours in the office and then go home to your house that has an elevator? You know, why would you? You don't need to. Anyway, let's see. ZG, thank you for the 10. Why is it so easy for PC gamers to switch settings and play on different systems of different strengths, but too difficult to make games for Series S? Avatar looks and runs great. I don't get it. Why is it so easy to switch settings, play on different systems of different strengths, but too difficult to make games for Series S? Oh, I see what you mean. So why is it that developers can make games that scale for PC, but they can't seemingly do stuff for Series S? Okay, good question. I am not like a software engineer. I'm not somebody that really understands anything. No, I'm not like an expert in this field, and I don't want to pretend to be. I think the point is, though, there are some games that they may be on Steam and you're allowed to buy them on Steam, but they will run like crap. You can technically go today, and if you want to buy, what's an example of like a super heavy game that's like, will probably not run that well. I'm trying to think of an example of something that's like super, and maybe Immortals of Avium or something, you know, something like that. Hunt Showdown, you know, you can buy the game. Dragon's Dogma is probably a really good example. Yeah. You could buy Dragon's Dogma on Steam, even if you're running on a potato. It will probably not run at a playable state, right? It might run at 5 frames a second or whatever on a really low PC. But you're allowed to still buy it. It's still listed, available for you, but it won't run in a playable way. But it's technically ported to that platform. On the Xbox side of things, if it's not at a certain threshold, they're not allowed to sell it there. You have to get approval from Microsoft before it's sold for that console. And if your game is running at 10, 15 frames a second, it's probably not getting approved. So could they technically get it ported to the Series S? Sure. But it probably doesn't run well at all, or it might crash a ton, or it just won't scale. So the standards are just different. On Steam, you can put out something that is totally busted for any of the computers in this range and only runs in computers of this range. But on Xbox, you can't. It has to run on that hardware. And that's why a lot of developers it's just not powerful enough to do what we need it to do, so we're just not going to release it. So it's just a different thing. It's the difference between an open platform and then a closed platform where there's separate standards. Yeah, you can play Wukong on hardware inferior to the Series S. The problem is the Series S is RAM that kills it. That's my understanding. Is it's the memory side of things where the Series S is really limited. It was the big cost cutting measure they took with the Series S, in addition to like no disk drive and other stuff. But I do think that's, at the end of the day, it's the memory that's the problem. That's why like Baldur's Gate couldn't get split screen running, is because of the memory. If they had more RAM, they could easily do it. Anyway. Let's see. Pretty eye, thank you for 16 months. Ooh, baby. Phantom Liberty set the bar pretty dang high for DLC moving forward. Shameful for BGS. Also, shout out to 16 months. Let's go. Ooh, baby. Yeah, it did set the bar higher. And I think a lot of people are like, well, yeah, but that was like ridiculously good. Yeah, it was. And that's why we praised it. That's why it reviewed so well. And it raises the bar, just like Baldur's Gate raises the bar for RPGs, just like Elden Ring will raise the bar for open world, like adventure games. These games raise the bar. And that's the point, is that every year the bar should be getting higher, in my opinion. It should always be getting higher. We should be having better and better and better and better games coming out all the time. That's a good thing. Some people, though, see it as negative because it will make it harder for their company or their game to impress as much, which is why I've said before that, like, some of these games, like, what was the recent game we did? Star Wars Outlaws. Like, if Star Wars Outlaws in its current form released back in like 2014 or 15, I think it would have done very, very well. I think it would have been super hyped. But releasing today, it doesn't work. Like, it's why I said, like, if you're playing it on all the normal default settings, it's like a 6 out of 10. It's just not there. But if it released a decade ago, it probably would have done better, right? It's because the standards change over time, and I think that's a good thing. But that's why when you look at something like a Shattered Space for $30, you should compare it to other DLCs and expansions from other studios that have come out in years past. Even like Bethesda specific ones like Far Harbor or Nuka World from Fallout 4, or you could compare it to stuff from their peers like CDPR. Compare it to Blood and Wine. Is it close to that? No. Blood and Wine adds like 40-50 hours. It's crazy. It's ridiculous. Totally different. It's amazing. Even Hearts of Stone. I've been replaying that in the last like week. Man, it's so good. If you haven't played Hearts of Stone, play it. Do yourself a favor. It is so freaking good. The writing, the performances, the cinematics. Oh, it's so good. Even little touches. You're running around like northern, like outside Oxenford, for example, and you'll hear children playing in the cornfields, and they're singing the song that's the theme of Gontar O'Dim. Do 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 do. Like, it's amazing. The amount of detail is so good. Oh, that's it. We're playing it now. I would. Don't you dare. I'll do it. I'll do it. I love it so much. Anyway. Hearts of Stone is my favorite story I ever told across media. It's just so good. It's just so freaking good. It's so good. Okay. Anyway, what was I saying? But yeah, pretty. I agree. They raised the bar, and I think that's a good thing. And I think people that are nervous about comparisons between certain DLCs and others, or certain games and others, that should be a red flag for you when considering their opinion, because it's like, no, you should be rooting for your game to be like beating out that game from 8 years ago or from 5 years ago. Like, you should be hoping that this game is fantastic. What order do I play the DLC? You go Hearts of Stone, then Blood and Wine. Usually Hearts of Stone is recommended. I think you can, it's technically unlocks first. I don't know technically when they unlock. I always go through them after I finish the story. After you finish the story of The Witcher 3, it resets you to like right before the final point of no return quest, but it just turns those quests off, and then you can continue through. But I think you can technically go through them even before you finish the base game. Yeah. Very good. And for the love of God, I'm begging you, if you go through it, play on Death March. You will be so thankful by the time you reach level like 25, 30, 35. I'm telling you, it makes the game so much better. You're going to be brewing decoctions. You're going to be brewing all of your potions. Whenever you go into a big hard fight, you're going to like take a moment, look in the bestiary, see, okay, so this is one of these guys. Okay. Then you're going to go over to the potions and you're going to pop this potion. You're going to apply that oil or have them automatically apply. And then you're going to pop this decoction that gives you healing of vitality every time you burn stamina or every time you deal damage. And then you can do like passive burn effects to steadily heal throughout the fight. I'm telling you, it's fantastic. It's so good. But a lot of people will go through the entirety of the base game and will never touch oils, maybe won't even upgrade potions. Certainly, I think it's pretty rare for people on their first playthrough to use decoctions at all. I think most people will brew swallow and that's it. I'm telling you, the game is so much better when you push yourself with Death March. It's really good. And now there's also freaking mods. There's like official mod support, or if you're playing on Steam, you can play with the Steam Workshop. And so there's all sorts of little quality of life things you can do. I have a mod turned on that makes it so I can fast travel from anywhere in the open world without having to run to the post, which just speeds up like it I think it's just more efficient. I try not to fast travel if I can help it, but nothing's more annoying than like, I finished this fight. Now let me run for 45 seconds till I get to the post so I can then fast travel to Skellige to do this and that. I just prefer to be able to travel from anywhere. There's other things people have added, like blood trails, improve blood trails when you're fighting. So you do a big slash and the blood goes flying. It's really cool. There's a lot of good stuff. There's a lot of good stuff. So recommend it. Have I played Deadlock yet? No, I don't technically, I still don't technically have access to it. But to be fair, I've not tried that hard. I've been a little swamped. I was supposed to be out of town for something like 23 days out of September. It was a lot. Like I was traveling a lot in September, but, and that's when Deadlock was like really popping off. So I need to just do it. I want to try it. I've heard it's very good. How many hours is the main story? How many hours is the main story of The Witcher 3? Maybe like, I guess it depends on how you play it. If you rushed it, I think you could get through it in like maybe 40, like 35 to 40. If you really took your time and you're like leveling up and you're doing all the contracts and side quests as you get them, maybe like 60 to 70. And then the DLC will add. Hearts of Stone adds maybe like 15 hours, and then Blood and Wine straight up can add like 40. So to do everything in that package, if you're playing on Death March and stuff, it could be anywhere from like 80 to 100 hours of total content. Yeah. And you're right. It does matter if you've played it before. That certainly does help if you know kind of broadly what's going on and where to go. Let's see. It's like the situation with Baldur's Gate 3. Developers hated that game because it set a new standard. Yeah, Mr. Steal You Kill. Thank you for the 5. It straight up is that, where people get really anxious when you are like, oh, you're making an RPG? Oh, like what lessons did you take from Baldur's Gate 3? And they're like, well, comparing us to that is maybe not the best idea. They start panicking. And it's because that game really is like an 11 out of 10 in terms of narrative RPGs. It's ridiculously robust. But the fact that people, like developers, get nervous with that's a good thing, because it shows that they realize they need to meet that level. And I think that that's something that should be pushed for. Whole stream in that voice, please. Yeah. Okay. And then Roberto, thank you for that. Hey, Luke, question. Do you think you should play in the hardest difficulty in Cyberpunk as well? At launch, until like the 2.0 update, I would have said no, just because it was really flimsy and things didn't work quite right, and like scaling doesn't work super great. Enemy scaling didn't work super great. But since the 2.0 update, Phantom Liberty revamp, all of that stuff, yeah, I think you can go through it on the hardest difficulty. But with most of this stuff, I'm just going to tell you, you got to play from the start on that difficulty so you build up the tools and stuff as you go. If you try to go through the game at like normal and then swap to the hardest difficulty, there's going to be a wall because you won't have upgraded your character along the way to prepare for that difficulty, because you might find yourself playing very differently. You might be putting more stuff into defensive abilities. You might be focused more on like grenades or something, like something you wouldn't have thought of before. So I'd really recommend that you push that, go through it from the beginning. Okay. Should we talk about this real quick? Let's talk about this. There are some new revelations. New revelations of Unreal Engine 5.5. We've been talking, new segment. We've been talking about Cyberpunk. We've been talking about CDPR. We've been talking about like The Witcher 4, what that's going to look like, whatever it's called. Witcher 4 Veilguard, whatever the hell they call it. But they've moved to Unreal Engine from the Red Engine, which they were using for Cyberpunk and The Witcher and blah, blah, blah. And what I find fascinating about that is that the Red Engine for Cyberpunk was already like really good. Really good. If you've not played Phantom Liberty or looked at Phantom Liberty on overdrive mode, like just look it up on YouTube when you get a chance. It's mind-bending how good it is. But they chose to abandon that and go with Unreal Engine, and they're moving everything over to that. And that should tell you a lot. Like if you know of somebody that was living, I'm trying to think of an example, like or maybe they were driving a like $100,000 car. And it's a very, very nice car. Like it's worth $100,000. I don't know cars, but let's just say it's worth $100,000. And then they tell you, they haven't lost their job. They're still making amazing money. They're still millionaires, whatever. But then they announce to you and the friend group that they have sold that car and they're getting a new car. And you're like, really? What new car? And it's like, oh, just you wait. Just you wait and see. Your assumption is rightly going to be that is going to be an upgrade because they already had something amazing and they're willing to walk away from it to get something else. And chances are they're not downgrading, right? And that's where we're at with the Unreal Engine, is that whatever they're doing by moving to the Unreal Engine, they feel it's an upgrade. They feel it's an upgrade. And there's been some things like, for example, the Red Engine had a lot of enhancements and improvements specifically made for like ray tracing, for glossy things like car metal surfaces, for reflections in glass, things that you really don't see a lot of out in like the forests of Skellige, for example. And therefore, the Red Engine maybe wouldn't have actually been that optimized for the diffuse levels that you would see in The Witcher 4 and the future projects there. And that could have been part of the justification for moving, because just because an engine is really good at futuristic graphics and art styles, that does not mean that it's going to do super well with like foliage and dense forests and lots of vegetation. That is a different animal, which is why it's important to note. 53 Nights also brings up a really good point that I almost forgot. So thank you, 53 Nights. There was another thing that happened, which was pretty crazy. It happened 3 years ago in June of 2021. And they posted this message and basically announced that in February of that year, they had a security vulnerability that was exploited. And to put it simply, they were hacked. And as part of this hack, they lost a lot of their source code. They lost a lot of that, didn't really lose it, but it was sold somewhere. And cybersecurity firm Kela has released screenshots of a post on the hacking forum exploit allegedly posted by the attackers, saying that they've received an offer for the data from outside the forum. They added that they ended the auction at the request of the buyer. Cybersecurity Twitter account VX Underground subsequently confirmed that the auction had closed. The auction's closed. Hackers auction off stolen source code for the Red Engine and CDPR game releases, and have just announced that a satisfying offer from an outside the forum was received. Blah, blah, blah. Somebody did purchase the material. Now, we don't know who that was. Of course, they're not going to announce, that they purchased it, but somebody purchased it. And I imagine it was some developer, maybe, a little more sketchy, maybe out of China or Russia or something like that. That's where some of this software ends up, typically, when there's data breaches like this. But that's also a part of it, is maybe they just realized anytime we make a game in the next 5 years with the Red Engine, there's going to be hacks, there's going to be security vulnerabilities there that we don't want to deal with. And all of our proprietary tech is now basically publicly available because of that hack. So maybe we just go through this route, and maybe we just go the route of working with Epic and using their tool sets and benefiting from Epic spending billions to improve the engine on their end, and Unreal, or CDPR rather, just gets to enjoy Unreal and all the features without having to pay for crazy engine upgrades and stuff like that. But all of this to say, we are now at a point where we are seeing glimpses of the future of the Red Engine, or rather of the Unreal Engine, and we're seeing little tidbits announced as part of a regular thing they do every year called Unreal Fest. And if you're not familiar with this, it's basically just a big showcase where they showcase a lot of the new improvements they've made to the engine that should excite you. So let's see what they got. Okay, you ready? Ready? This was just yesterday, I believe.
Thank you, Simon. Hey, Victor.
Hey, everyone.
Hey.
Let's jump right into it. When we look at where to take Unreal Engine in the future, we start with the user, asking ourselves how the tools and the tech get out of their way as they bring their ideas to life. One challenging limitation for our creators has been the cost of shadow casting lights. To that end, we've developed new technology that enables artists to use orders of magnitude more and higher quality light sources than ever before.
Steve Jobs is back.
Let's take an early look at this new feature we're calling Megalights. And who better to guide us through this experience than our intrepid explorer from Lumen in the land of Nanite, Echo.
Let's see it. This is the same little demo they did, 4 years ago as part of the showcase of what the PS5 is capable of. And they're back to showcase some improvements. Let's see. I remember it looking amazing. I don't know how they can make it look even better, but apparently they're going to.
Let's see what's up ahead, Victor.
Steve unemployed. That's funny.
Always something new to discover.
Before we get into the details of Megalights, I first wanted to talk about this environment. Built using a suite of brand new assets from the Quixel Megascans library, we've also partnered with Kitbash 3D. They're an awesome resource for 3D models and materials. You can soon find many of these assets on our new Fab Asset Marketplace if you want to use them in your own projects. Moving on, let's talk Megalights. Unreal Engine is at its best when users can express themselves without technical constraint. Like Nanite did for triangles or Lumen for a global illumination, Megalights removes limitation in a whole new category: direct lighting and shadows. Take, for example, these textured area lights, considered the gold standard of offline rendering. Here they are, in real time, spilling vibrant color into the scene, casting soft shadows, and illuminating the environment in a way artists simply couldn't have done before.
That's beautiful. You can always tell when it's developers in the crowd because they'll find this very, very impressive, but gamers would be like, yeah, it looks pretty, I guess. You know, yeah, runs at 30 FPS on a 4090 with frame generation and DLSS 3.5 turned on.
Who are you?
So it looks like Echo has found herself in quite an interesting marketplace here. It's just about to open for the day. Let's turn on some of these shop fronts and see what's for sale. There's something missing though. The scene, it's flat, it's undefined. Let's turn on shadows, but not just for a few important lights, for every single light in the entire view.
That's the difference between just like generic, you put a light on. I didn't think it looked bad before, but this is with shadows, that's without shadows. Like, pretty clear, a lot more contrast, a lot more nuance. You don't even realize, like, looking at this looks pretty good. But, oh, baby. You know, it's those little touches. But this is the difference between, like, graphical overhauls in 2024. Graphical overhauls from, like, 2012 to 2013. Huge leap. I mean, massive leap. But now the improvements are stuff like this, where the side-by-side is what really shows you clearly. But I think a lot of people, if you showed them this, they'd be totally fine with it. Then you show them this, it's like, oh yeah, looks good too. Yeah, no shade. Or I guess literally shade. But I think that that's just where we are. Things are not like as big of a leap as you would have thought.
From these main shop fronts to the screens, the displays, the flickering oil lamps, string lights, candles, signs, we're free to use whatever lights we need to tell our story and bring this beautiful environment to life. Now, the density of light sources you see here, it's extremely high. And this is what you get when artists are working playfully, without limitation. Okay.
Oh, God.
Let's go back to the scene. Victor, let's go further. Let's activate all these animated drones and robots. Over 1,000 individual shadow casting light sources in this view alone.
Wow. Like little fireflies.
All of these lights, they're movable, dynamic, scattering through the volumetric fog, and mega.
I think it's also like one of the appeals of this is that these improvements can be made and scaled as the game is being built up. So it's not like this stuff has to be done now. Like these improvements can continue to happen over the next however many years, and they'll be implemented into those games, systematically, which I really appreciate. Let's see. Let me see if I can find a non-IGN source for this next little tidbit, because their footage is ridiculously low res. Can I just go to Unreal? Maybe just Unreal Engine. Unreal Engine. The original source. That's what I want. Day 2... opening stream. I think this Unreal Editor for Fortnite, guys. PAX Dei. Oh yeah, way better. IGN, what are you doing?
Thanks, Dana, for having us. I'm Thor Gunnarsson, co-founder and CEO at Mainframe
Thor.
Industries.
And I'm Sol Garo, co-founder and chief product officer. It's super exciting to be here.
So we're a European-based independent developer, a small team passionately crafting a one-of-a-kind MMO. It's a project some of us have been dreaming of for more than 20 years. We call it PAX Dei.
Our game is what we call a social sandbox MMO. Taking inspiration from medieval Europe, PAX Dei is a vast open world shared between thousands of players. Here, you choose the role you want to play, explore the land, build your home, and forge your reputation.
First and foremost, PAX Dei is a place. As we set about creating an MMO for the modern age, we knew the first thing we had to get right was the world. We spent a lot of time establishing the right atmosphere. We want the world of PAX Day to feel grounded and familiar, while at the same
For an
time,
MMO?
cinematic, more vibrant,
I'm
and
impressed.
larger than life.
I'm just used to MMOs looking
Unreal
like
Engine
WoW,
requires
you
a
know? It's like,
relatively small team to punch way above our
strong
weight class
art
in terms
style.
of project scope and quality.
but I'm impressed.
Lumen allows us to achieve unparalleled realism in our environments, while Nanite ensures that even the most intricate details are rendered flawlessly without compromising performance.
Yummy.
And we have the ability to render
Have any of you guys ever been to a place where they did like the roast pig on a spit? Have you ever seen that? They did it when we went to Hawaii. We went to like Kauai specifically, and they did like the luau thing on the beach, and at least I think it was a pig. I mean, I'm pretty sure, but it was. We didn't like carve it ourselves, of course, like they did that, but it was like a whole thing. It's pretty good. I did in Maui. Yeah, it's a good time. It was a good time. Not for the faint of heart. Like, I'm sure if you were like if there were toddlers there, they'd be traumatized, but honestly, pretty good. Pretty good.
player-made
Anyway.
structures in real time,
Video
in
games.
minute detail, and at great distances. Players can gaze out over miles of terrain, spotting distant landmarks and player-built cities that invite exploration.
See, I love this. It's one of my frustrations with The Witcher 3 as I've been replaying it, is it feels like so often they don't want to do like huge vistas where you can see super far. So a lot of the game is in these like valleys and trenches in dense forests to cut off line of sight, because I think the engine at that time, before they made upgrades for Cyberpunk, struggled with long line of sight. But that's one of the strengths of Unreal Engine, allegedly, is that it can handle that type of thing.
One of the most powerful extensions we've made to Unreal is the ability to seamlessly transition player state between Unreal servers.
Oh yeah, no, Witcher 3 is old though. Yeah, no, there's no doubt about that, Orem. All I'm saying is that the move from that to Unreal Engine is still a very interesting choice, but I think that we're seeing some of the reasons why that would be
By
entertained.
stitching together a fleet of Unreal servers, we created a game world over 150 square miles in size. We can support over 8,000 players in a single game
Oh, that's
instance.
trippy. I guess I just never really thought about how you would handle this, but yeah, they just have individual servers that run chunks of the map at a time. And that allows them to do 150 square miles, 8,500 players on a single broader server. Interesting. That's crazy.
As players travel, servers are automatically spun up, ensuring a smooth gameplay experience.
PAX Day is a true sandbox. The world's a stage, a blank canvas for players to make their own. Everything players use in the game has to be crafted, starting with your home. We've been amazed at the level of creativity our players have shown using the modular building system in the game. And when full clans join forces, whole player-created civilizations start to emerge.
Our vision for PAX Day required us to address heads-on the classic challenge any MMO faces: how to handle high player density. To tackle this, we created tech that dynamically distributes players across layers. This allows the server capacity to temporarily scale in the same location whenever that zone requires higher concurrency. Player and world state is persisted across all the layers, with each layer corresponding to a single Unreal server. With layering, clans can work together to build huge structures such as cities while still sharing the same persisted world. An old persisted state, such as buildings, inventories, and market stalls, is intelligently shared and replicated using a robust backend that ensures transactionality and data integrity.
And it's not only buildings. Every weapon, dress, or piece of armor in PAX Day is player-created. We work hard on giving each item a level of detail that will make players proud of having crafted it. And soon we're going to be adding a lot of depth to this aspect of our game.
We're currently upgrading our wear and tear system to dynamically adjust the appearances of individual pieces of equipment, reflecting how much damage is received, so you know if it's time for repair. We also built each item from the ground up to be modular, making it easy to adjust the fabric and color, add patterns or symbols, or change the trim. With these options, players will soon be able to express as much creativity in customizing their appearance as they already enjoy in the building side of the game.
That's cool.
Our game requires the community to come alive. To all the players that have joined us in early access so far, thank you. We've been humbled by your feedback, support, and passion, and we couldn't do it without you. If you want to support a team making something fresh in the MMO space, please join our early access now and help us build the virtual world that we can all inhabit for years to come. Thank you very much.
That's super cool. I haven't really dug into it, but I mean, that's super cool. Riot, they're moving Valorant over to Unreal Engine 5. So they're doing that. That's a thing. I think for that type of game, I'm less like I don't care as much about graphical side improvements. It's more about like improving ping rates and improving turnaround time, stuff like that is more crucial. But yeah, you can see them talking about the use of Unreal Engine tool sets in cinematics in film and stuff like that. Epic Games Store, Unreal Engine ecosystem stuff that they're doing, but not as many big leaps forward, I think, as last year. Last year they had a lot of open world specific stuff they were outlining, but now they're saying, oh, what's this? This looks fancy.
To keep your characters more realistic. Our simulation system can be used to provide high-fidelity ML training data for clot and muscle deformation. And while we're talking about simulation and physics, in 5.5 we've added support for customizable vehicles that provide a building block style assembly, giving you the flexibility to configure and customize your vehicles with ease.
Coming to Fortnite in a month. Well, there you go. So lots of improvements, and I'm telling you what, by the time we see The Witcher 4 and all the other stuff that's coming from Unreal Engine, it's going to break our brains. I think it's going to break our brains. Okay. Okay, I guess we could do this real quick. This will be no surprise. News segment. You ready? Have you guys heard of Project Renee? Does this ring a bell for anybody? Project Renee? Well, Project Renee is supposed to be the follow-up to The Sims 4. So they've said they don't want to do The Sims 5. They want to do like a follow-up that's sort of a living, breathing live service reinvention of it. So they don't really do big standalone releases. It's just an evolution of the game from year to year, right? Well, some leaks have happened, and now we've seen it. You can see this reporting from Insider Gaming. In recent days, new shots from a test build of Project Renee have allegedly leaked online, showcasing several changes that have left the Sims community disappointed. At first blush, it appears that EA has changed the conceptual style revealed so many months ago and pivoted to a more mobile-friendly design, complete with grindy tasks and, of course, microtransactions. On September 17th, the team revealed that there were no plans to release The Sims 5, and instead it would be keep pushing updates into The Sims 4 for the decade-old title. And going mobile, Project Renee has been in development for the longest time, and the team at EA hasn't exactly been forthcoming with updates. From leaks concerning an open-world map to a developer diary that exposed some prototype art for the game, details have been drip-fed to the community over the last few years. In the last few days, though, some leaked images have surfaced online, revealing what's claimed to be a more updated test build of Project Renee. These images have caused fans to lash out against the devs for creating what appears to be a typical and rather generic mobile game. And when we pull these up, this is like the prototype scene. You can see this post. I can't believe my eyes. The Project Renee has switched its course from being the promised successor to The Sims 4 to some ugly ass mobile game that will just be another cash grab full of ads. So this is a prototype. This is the leak. I can understand why people are frustrated. I get it. I get it. You can see they have like the in-game currency. They have the grindy stuff for checklists to keep you engaged longer. They have the sassy face in the top corner, which is horrifying. It's too bad. It's too bad. Now, to be fair, this is development footage, okay? Most games, if you saw them in the prototype phase, you'd be like, that looks like garbage. What are you doing? Okay, so like, to be fair, like we can't say concretely that we know what the game is going to be like based on this. But I think that this gives you a vibe at the very least of what they're going for, and it's pretty clear that when they say mobile friendly interface, yeah, I mean, this clearly has been designed for tapping in mind. And the whole idea, I think, with Project Renee is that they want to release it on console, sure, PC, but they also want to put it on phones. So it needs to be able to scale across all of that so you can play it anywhere. You can pick up your phone, play your game and your character, set it down, go home, boot it up on your computer, play it there, or your console or Switch 2, whatever. And that's the goal. And I get why they want that. I get it. I understand. And I do think there's a lot of people who will play it that way and will spend a lot of money on it, having been set up that way. But I think that this is just like an instant turnoff for a lot of people. And for Sims fans who have been waiting for more depth and complexity for years, this is just not gonna do it. And I mean, talk about a pivot. This, I understand, prototype, they even wrote on the bottom, visuals are exploratory and do not represent final gameplay. So they're saying, yeah, we're just experimenting. This could change, but we're just seeing if this is the vibe we want to go for. And instead they've pivoted to go something like this, which is much more Roblox-y. And that's the route they're going. And you know what? If they're trying to chase the Roblox crowd, I get it. Roblox makes ridiculous amounts of money, and I don't get it. I don't understand it, but it does. And so if they're just trying to make money off of that crowd, more power to you, I guess. But don't be surprised when like core Sims fans hate it. And this is the mistake that a lot of people, a lot of studios have made, rather. And that is assuming that you can abandon your base franchise, fan base, and just get another chunk of players from somewhere else easily. You know, it's the same thing that Suicide Squad did. It's the same thing that Concord did to a certain extent. But basically, like, if you think, let's take Sims, for example. You have this bubble of Sims fans, okay? And then you have Roblox fans. Roblox, okay? You'd think that the Sims 4 or Sims 5 or whatever the hell we're on would come over and maybe try to bridge the divide. They'd come and try to slice this and then also slice some of that with their offering. So they get some crossover. They pull in some new players from over here, and then they bring in a lot of the old school fans. You'd think that's what they try to do. Keep the old fans happy and bring in some new ones. But it doesn't seem like that's what they're doing. What I get from this is that they're trying to do this and say, screw you. You guys keep playing Sims 4. Sit down. And the problem is when you screw over this group of people, your original fans, they're not happy about it. And they verbalize it. They tell everybody about it. They go on X and they make posts about it. They make videos about it. The streamers talk about it. The YouTubers make videos on it. And game journalists pick it up and start doing stories. It starts to take off. And then this little red bubble starts to get weighed down in negativity. It starts to drop lower and lower. And all of a sudden, it's not appealing to the whole group of Roblox fans. Because again, what is one of the most potent forces in all of gaming? Peer pressure. And the worst thing you can do as a gamer is play something that makes you uncool. And if everybody agrees that this game is cringe, doesn't matter how appealing this bubble is, it's going to start shrinking and shrinking and eventually you might get a few Roblox fans to come over and try it, But you abandoned something this size that could have taken advantage of all those fans, maybe even pulled over some of the Roblox fans as well. You've abandoned all of that to capture a little bitty bubble. And even that's going to get smaller as the years go by, because they're just going to go back to Roblox. And I think it's so short-sighted. It's the same exact thing that happened with like Suicide Squad. It's the same thing. Where they said, oh, we have a big fan base that like really loves our games, our Arkham games. Okay, well, we also want to make basically a looter shooter. So what if we just like, let's say Arkham fans. What if we abandoned them and went over looter shooter fans and we make a bubble that appeals to that? What if we do that? And so they said, oh, we do a little bit of stuff. We have some cutscenes, but we're going to try to make something that appeals to all this. Well, these people were so upset that they voiced their concerns, and they made this really uncool. And so all of a sudden the bubble gets smaller, and it gets even smaller until it's like not even in the looter shooter fan base. And it's just its own little thing until it pops out of existence and goes away. And they keep doing this. It's the flaw of live service games built around fan bases where they're just trying to milk the audience for money. Like, and they don't care. They don't care. You know, it's too bad. They are literally milking the franchise. And milking the fan base. And it's too bad. It really is too bad. Okay. So anyway, no shock there. No shock there. It looks like hot dog water. And granted, it is very early on. Very early on. It could change. But it certainly is not where you want to be at this point. You'd hope people would see the prototype and be like, that looks awesome. But that's not what they're saying. Oh, I have a drinking problem. My grandma would always call it a leaky lip. Whenever like a baby would drink from a sippy cup and then have a little bit of the drink dripping out. Oh, you got a drinking problem. You got a leaky lip. Oh, hot dog water. It actually probably would be tasty, honestly. Just gonna say it. Inzoi, yeah. So Inzoi is another game that's coming. And if you don't know about it, basically, Inzoi official trailer. Okay, it's coming from Krafton, and it's basically just supposed to be the more realistic Sims alternative. So if you are frustrated by the route they've gone, this is supposed to give you something different that is going to be potentially closer to what you're hoping for. You can see all sorts of personality traits. It's a much more grounded art style. You can use like this freaked people out, but this is like a genuinely cool use of 3D or of AI, where they are allowing you to take pictures and then go in and upload it to the game, and it will convert it into a 3D object to put into your game. So if you take a picture of this, it uses generative AI to turn it into a 3D model, so you can customize to a much greater extent, which is ridiculous. And this, people feel, is going to be the Sims killer. Like, this is what those hardcore Sims fans are going to move over to, which I actually would believe. I haven't tried Inzoi myself. I know some people tried it. They did like a beta or something recently. And so I'm sure that this, if it continues to take off and if people continue to get really into it and they keep increasing the funding and stuff, this could be something really, really great. And at the very least, it seems really interesting. And honestly, this is what I always hoped The Sims would turn into. It would turn into like a more complex, advanced simulation, kind of like a Second Life thing. But instead, they've gone the route of just trying to turn it into something that's easier to milk for cash, and it's too bad. And it's also too bad because I'm sure that this is still going to make tons of money. It doesn't seem to run super great. That's the one thing. I've seen a lot of clips where it seems like it's struggling to maintain even like 25 frames, but it's also early, so it could get better. Jesus. But pretty interesting, huh? The point is, this is why competition is good. Because if Inzoi comes out and is fantastic and people eat it up and it sells super well and people are like, this is what I've always wanted, and that Sims project flops, then you could see them actually figuring it out and you see EA shifting and trying to win people over that way. But time will tell. Time will tell. But we'll keep an eye on it because Inzoi does seem very, very interesting. My main issues are with performance. I just don't know how well it's going to go. EA is too busy trying to figure out how to make their least costly manipulated monetized games. Well, it's just, this is the age-old problem for these bigger companies is that they have franchises people know and love. And then they are going and trying to turn them into like mobile games and games like a Roblox that just print money. And then they're surprised when the trailers get mass downvoted, when the fan base is upset about it, because they're trying to get that new audience. They're trying to get the Roblox players to play it, and they probably will, and they'll throw money at them because Roblox makes so much money. But it feels like these executives don't understand that people have emotional attachments to these franchises. Sims means something to a lot of people. It just does. They played it growing up, or they maybe played it with their older sibling a lot. And, you know, it just holds a special place in their heart. And you can't just monetize that and milk it dry without upsetting people. Like in the same way, if you find out that CDPR's Witcher 4 or like one of their Witcher projects is just going to be a live service thing where it's like, I don't even know what would even be possible. Imagine it's just like a match 3 gacha game, like basically WWE Champions, but just 15,000 different skins of Geralt and stuff. You'd be like, no, screw you. Like this is garbage. How dare you? You know, it would upset people. There would be people that would play it. I have no doubt. You know, I'm sure somebody like DSP would spend hundreds of thousands in it, but you shouldn't be surprised if the core audience freaks out about it. And that's where we're at right now. Is just that these companies are taking franchises people love and then they're trying to monetize them to different audiences other than the fan base. And then it doesn't work because the fan base are the people that would have bought it to begin with. It's just so short-sighted. So short-sighted. Like Veilguard, that's funny. No, with Veilguard, funnily enough, Veilguard was supposed to be a live service game, and it was until like COVID. It was gonna be a live service game, like a big multiplayer thing, and then they pivoted off and changed it into a single player thing, which I'm very glad to hear. I'm very glad to hear. Let me see if I can find. I thought I bookmarked it, but there's been lots of reporting on it. But it basically was supposed to be a live service game, and then it was changed. And so that was an instance that was kind of surprising when they actually did the opposite. They actually went from live service, milking it for all it's worth, and pivoted towards a more pro-consumer single-player thing, which I think is awesome. You know, instead of, can you imagine if Veilguard was announced and then it's like, yeah, and then it's a live service thing. Bye bye BioWare. But they made the right choice. They really did. Okay. This is something interesting that got shared with me. And I want to show it to you because it's really trippy and weird. So I originally saw this post, I guess, new segment. I originally saw this post from Nick Tech, who makes some awesome videos, does a lot of good stuff. And he made this, calling out this video from Nick Cyan. And we'll look at this in just a second, but basically it's gaming plus generative AI. This is a scene from GTA San Andreas reimagined with Runway Gen 3. Jensen Huang, the CEO of NVIDIA, spoke about the future of DLSS, where he mentioned that DLSS to generate in-game assets such as textures and objects, and DLSS 10 hypothetically delivering full neural rendering. This may look bad and unplayable by today's standards, but we all know how good generative AI video has gotten over just a few short years. This is the future of gaming combined with generative AI to create photorealism. This is something I just never thought of. I heard the statements from Jensen, but didn't really think about it. But basically, what they're talking about is like trying to have a video game that is rendered out and then using an advanced form of like DLSS to then go over the video game footage and then redo it to, it's not even upscaling, to like redo it into photorealistic style. So what you're seeing here is going to be like mad trippy. It's really weird, but they're cutscenes from San Andreas that this AI tool has then gone over and tried to make look photorealistic, even though it's coming from whatever 20-year-old video game. It's like very surreal. It's really, really trippy. You see outfits changing. You see weird stuff happening here and there. But it does kind of seem like the vibe of that Will Smith spaghetti video, if you've seen that. You remember that? It's kind of there right now, but I can see, at least through this, what he's trying to communicate, which is Jensen saying you could have a video game that doesn't look particularly great, and then you could use a tool like an AI upscaler, or in this case, AI renderer, I don't even know, to then change it and make it look photorealistic by upscaling it that way. And right now it's super far off. Like, this is not something that could run in real time. This is not something that would be doable. And right now it does not look particularly good. But the point is, over time, you could eventually get to the point where it does look photorealistic and it does run in real time. Which I do think, yeah, this is them actually doing it with gameplay. And like, if you kind of blur your eyes and if you don't look at it in focus, if you kind of look off the side of the screen a little bit, you can kind of get a better feel for it. It does look much, much better that way if you're not looking straight at it. But it will eventually get really, really good. But you can see how they're applying it, different art styles, color filters, that type of thing. And I could totally see this being a thing. Like, imagine some of these companies that don't want to spend time polishing texture quality or lighting quality or this or that. You could just go in and have a tool set like ones NVIDIA is developing that just do the heavy lifting for you. They're already kind of doing that, where they don't optimize. They just rely on the upscaling to make the performance playable. It makes you really appreciate those like PS2 animations, though, when you see an actual human being moving like that. You know, it looks like one of those parody videos. Which is just really, really fascinating. It's really funny to me. But it's really surreal, isn't it? Isn't it really bizarre? What are you talking about? I would play this game. I would, but I think I'd have a mental breakdown after like an hour. Probably less than that, like 5 minutes, 10 minutes. It's just really, really surreal. But the point is, it will get better. This is what they're starting with. So imagine if you started with like Red Dead Redemption 2 and then you went through these filters. It'd be crazy. Now, to be clear, for everybody, there's often a misunderstanding when I look at stuff like this. People are like, so you want that to be the future of gaming? No. Okay. No. I see this as a potential crutch to be used by a lot of developers and a lot of publishers to skip a lot of quality work from artists. Is it a cool piece of technology? Absolutely. Could it be useful in game development and actually help games that are photorealistic, literally photorealistic, come out at certainly, you know, within decent amounts of time? Yeah, absolutely. But as we've seen with a lot of these amazing pieces of tech, they give and they take. They do amazing work for one studio, and then another studio tries to rely on it, and it turns out to be absolute garbage. But I do think that there's a lot of potential. As these AI algorithms, machine learning algorithms get better and better, I could totally see it getting to the point where you could not just upscale an image, but you could actually enhance it, which upscaling sort of is, in real time to get improved graphics. Already something like ray reconstruction with DLSS 3.5, that improves the quality of the image, and that's technically tied to those algorithms through NVIDIA's neural network training stuff. So it's already sort of happening in certain ways, but it's still crazy trippy when you see it converted. And again, it makes you really appreciate these like PS2 animations. It's so funny to me. It's so bizarre to see. It just doesn't look right at all. Poor dude's arms are like broken. Just oh. Oh man, but pretty crazy, right? Isn't that crazy? It's very interesting. Very, very interesting. So I have no doubt that we're going to see those types of improvements come. This guy has also done other things with Runway Gen 3 where he's gone through like GTA footage and upscaled it, or not even upscaling, I keep using that term, but he's changed it with these AI video filters and stuff. And I mean, you can see it's starting with just GTA gameplay footage, GTA 4 gameplay footage, and then they're going back through it with these filters to make it literally photorealistic. And like a couple of these little still shots, you might, you know, if you showed it to your grandma on Facebook, she'd believe it was real. If you know what you're looking at, you can tell like with the lettering in the background, yeah, this is AI generated. Weird things with like the fingers, you can spot that. But again, you remember the Will Smith spaghetti thing. You remember how bad that was? Will Smith spaghetti. This was a year. This was a year apart. 2023, this was what AI video looked like. Pretty horrifying. Very horrifying. Jesus. And then this is 2024. Oh yeah, Dwayne eating rocks. I forgot about this. The Rock eating rocks. I forgot about this. Yeah, 2023, this is what AI video was able to do with the prompt, The Rock eating rocks. And then 2024, still a little, not a little, very unnerving. The AI is like, you want me to make what? It's so creepy. Oh man. But the point is, it gets way better very quickly, and it's only going to continue to accelerate. So just you wait. There's a reason all these game developers and publishers are saying generative AI is integral to our business. There's a reason, and it's because they see this potential and they're hearing all these companies talk about it, and they are drooling at the idea of getting the chance to get this amount of money. So, yeah, just you wait. Just you wait. I think PS6 we'll see a lot of it. It's still a few years out, but it's going to be a whole thing. Why do we want to blend reality with AI? Well, Jamie, it's because for these companies, they see it as a chance to skip the polish phase, skip the art phase. You could just have an AI like generative filter, and you say, just make it look like have pink fog everywhere and make it really dark and gritty and make it look kind of like, you know, this movie from this director. And then it'll apply color filters. It'll do all of that. And you don't have to have artists do any of it. And more importantly, you don't have to pay the artists to do any of it. And it'll be faster. And that's the other thing. Time is money. With a lot of these companies right now, the problem is games take too long and are too expensive to make over that time. And so they're making these big projects that flop and lose tons of money. So now they're like, ooh, we could just have a robot do it faster and cheaper. Hell yeah. Yeah, Axel Stewart. Oh God, imagine the amount of remakes. Remakes where they literally don't have to do anything. They put in like a little prompt to whatever the DLSS 7, DLSS 10, whatever it is, tool set is. And they just say, improve the graphics, make it photorealistic while retaining the art style, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Just you wait. Just you wait. There's going to be a lot of this. They're just getting started. Why aren't we getting Bloodborne? Probably because they're waiting for this. They're just waiting for this. Oh, man. What the hell is this? A live-action CGI hybrid Rugrats movie is in development. I can already tell you this is going to be nightmare fuel. Already tell you. Why? Just why? Like, that's going to be so bad, dude. They couldn't make, like, the Snow White and the Seven Dwarves look cute, and that's like a pretty easy task. Somehow wow. Okay, whatever. Whatever. Oh, man. Okay, let's see this. There's allegedly a leak about the canceled Halo Battle Royale. New segment. You ready? Jinx, thank you for the 2. Imagine DLSS upscaling in old games textures live. Yeah. I mean, they're already kind of doing that. They're saying generative AI can do that. They've shown some... I forget what it was. Was it Unreal Engine or was it NVIDIA? I think it was NVIDIA. I think NVIDIA is already doing that. Yeah. I've met so many people I never expected to game who absolutely die hard love Sims. They always turn out to be freaking cool too. Great community. Yeah, it's like the most casual game community, or it has the most like crossover between hardcore gamers and casual gamers. There's a lot of people that play just Sims and are super into it. Judson, thank you for the 2. Don't Sims 4 have new competitors like that Inzoi game? Oh yeah. I missed this one. Yeah. It's the whole thing. It's the whole thing. You remember the Portal remake? Yeah. There's a lot of them out there, but that is something they've actively explored. New segment. Okay. Canceled Halo Battle Royale details surface online, video claims. In a video dubbed an exclusive report, one creator and reporter has broken down a series of claimed details about Project Tatanka, later known as Project Eckert, the famed and failed Halo Battle Royale title. It was claimed that Tatanka or Eckert was canceled in 2023 because of a desire to focus on the next main Halo game and because the Battle Royale genre was wavering. Interesting. Okay. I mean, this was one thing that it's, again, the tail of the tape when it comes to live service stuff, where you get in too late and you miss the wave and nothing's there to bring you into shore. You're just out there ready to surf, but there's nothing there. And at least, you know, if they were like, hey, this isn't going to come out until 2025, and by that point we're like 5 years too late for the Battle Royale trend, so let's just not waste the money. Honestly, props. Maybe they could have very well just avoided wasting $200 million or $300 million. That's the big thing with so many of these games, though, is that people are always frustrated, I think rightly so, when something gets canceled. But the flip side of it is to just go, why did they cancel it? This was the thing with like the Last of Us online game. Everybody's losing their minds that they canceled it. And I'm like, guys, if they canceled it, that represented losing a lot of money and a lot of time. So how bad do you think it was? Do you think they canceled it when it was actually really good? Do you think they canceled it if there was a chance it made a lot of money? I don't think so. I don't think so. They're willing to put out games like Concord, which have no content, and lose, hundreds of millions of dollars. And they were doing internal reviews of that. I don't believe for a second that there was like no critical feedback on Concord. I think clearly they didn't listen to it. They ignored it. And I think they ignored it because it represented like Herman Hulst's baby, as the reporting said, from Colin Moriarty. Even though he said he wasn't like reporting, but you get what I mean? Like he was talking to somebody, a source, who said that it was Herman Hulst's baby. And so I think because the executive had put a lot of chips on that bet, they didn't take the critical feedback seriously. And maybe when Bungie reviewed it, because it was former Bungie devs, they were soft on it. I don't really know. But I think at some point there were people saying, this needs more content. This needs more of this. This needs more of that. Colin Moriarty said as much when they bought the studio. They had like a bare foundation, but they had to bring in tons of outside companies and contractors in to help finish the game because it was so far off. So they knew that it wasn't quite there yet. But they did review like the Last of Us Online game, and somehow or another decided to just walk away and abandon it. So sometimes cancellations are justified, and maybe even most of the time, because the one thing executives love more than greenlighting bad projects is making money. And if there was ever a chance that these games could have made money, they would have greenlit them and let them try. So to hear that they, canceled this because they were worried they were going to miss the boat and it wasn't going to be good enough to like reignite a wave of Battle Royale interest, that I think should tell you everything you need to know. It's like, okay, well, they thought it would take another year and a half and there was no way they were going to make that money back. So they just decided to walk away, which honestly, probably the right choice. Many fans were excited about the prospect of a Halo Battle Royale title, including some prolific streamers with a penchant for first-person shooters. Unfortunately, all signs point to 343 Industries having canceled the project, capping it to work on bigger and better things for the series. In January, it was claimed that 343 Industries was heading in an entirely different way for the next Halo title, quote, starting from scratch and utilizing a new engine. Shortly after, Project Tatanka, Project Eckert, was shut down, the claim goes. In a social media post that accompanied an exclusive YouTube report, creator Rebs Gaming, who has spotted key Halo-related details in the past, listed a bunch of details tied to the canceled Halo Battle Royale game. He stressed it was being playtested weekly by 343 Industries, which is where many of those details came from. Players would drop into a map on the Zeta Halo ring made up of multiple fragments, and they'd get there through an ODST-style drop pod system. As players explored the map, they'd pick up power items, equipment, shields, all while completing mini objectives. As the game unraveled, Pelicans would fly over and drop off vehicles, warthogs, mongooses, falcons, and the like. These details are yet to be corroborated, but whether they're accurate or not, the fact remains there is no Halo Battle Royale game on the horizon, and it was once heavily rumored that one would materialize. In the absence of such a game, some savvy creators have started piecing together their own Halo Battle Royale mode, which shows there's an appetite for the game. Again, I just think it's pretty clear that it would have been years late. I just think it's, by the time it would have come out, it would have been probably 25, 26. Like, the Battle Royale genre was really popping off in like 2019, 2020. That's when it was like really big. Even like the biggest was probably 2018 to 2019. I think that's when it was at the absolute peak. Warzone reignited it in 2020 with lockdowns and everything. But I think if it was coming basically a console generation late, they might have had a few thousand players, but there's no way they were making back like $100-200 million on that. I just don't think so. And it's pretty clear that 343 has a problem with getting stuff out of a consistent quality in a decent amount of time. I liked Halo Infinite. I liked the campaign. I liked the multiplayer. It got old fairly quickly, but I thought it was good. I enjoyed it. I like Space Marine 2, and like, I played that. I'm happy with it. It's not a game I'm going to put 1,000 hours into, or probably even like 100 or 200 hours, but I still enjoyed it. It's still a good game, you know? Yeah, imagine Concord being your baby. Bahaha, everyone laugh. Yeah, they allegedly he was like, it was known internally as Herman's baby. And they were saying that it was going to be like their Star Wars. So at the very least, I'd say that this is encouraging to see that they were self-aware enough to be like, we're going to miss the boat and waste all this time. Let's just not bother. And so they canceled it and walked away. Honestly, I wish more studios had self-awareness like that. Oh, goodness. Excuse me. But anyway, of course, you're going to see some people be like, oh, they wasted it. But honestly, I'd rather them throw it and not bother wasting all that time and money. Oh, wait, what's this? Ronan just tagged me. Ronan, are you in here? Did you just tag me in this? What the hell? Star Citizen developer Cloud Imperium Games imposes a 7-day work week ahead of CitizenCon. Huh. I'm not sure I've heard that before. Wow. Interesting. W slavery. Jesus. Is that... I mean, technically, yeah, it's legal. If you don't like it, you can quit. Unless you have like a contract saying that you don't have to be there for that amount of time, I guess. But wow. Well, when is CitizenCon? I guess maybe that's a good question. 18 days away. 3 weeks of working straight, man. That's a lot. That's a lot. Let me read this one real quick. Judson, thank you for the 5. 343 needs to change their name because their reputation is bad from the Halo community, and outside of it, over 10 years, not since a good Halo game from 343. I mean, I don't think changing the name will fix anything. I think that just, they're gonna be like, oh yeah, it's formerly 343. So I don't think that really fixes anything, but they definitely do have a reputational issue for sure. Trash Panda Cult, thank you for something with Prime, my friend. Thank you. Appreciate you. Thank you. Okay, let's see this. Let's see this. Okay. New segment. Star Citizen developer Cloud Imperium Games imposes a 7-day work week ahead of CitizenCon. They're of course, developer of Star Citizen, and they apparently have just mandated their developers to work 7 days a week to meet deadlines for the convention that they hold every year. And that convention kickstarts on October 19th. An internal email sent to staff yesterday states that the company needs to, quote, double down over the next 18 days to make sure that once again we create an amazing experience for our community. This includes finalizing patch 3.24.2 for Star Citizen and having a Squadron 42 demo showcase for Chapter 1. The email later continues, quote, this means for the next 2 weekends we will be mandating extra time for all those working on deliverables for CitizenCon. Specifically, all staff are to be in the office on Friday, October 4th, Friday, October 11th, typical work at home days. All staff are to be in the office on Saturday, October 5th and Saturday, October 12th. For these days, the company will provide breakfast and lunch with staff receiving company time off in lieu, which can be stored and used for time off at a later date. And all staff are to work on Sunday, October 6th and Sunday, October 13th. This can be a work at home day, but the company encourages, quote unquote, people to be in the office for these days. And for those in the office, the company will provide breakfast and lunch with staff receiving company time off in lieu, which can be stored and used for time off at a later date. Insider Gaming understands that the recent mandate is the latest in a slew of ridiculous requirements imposed by honest developers due to mismanagement, leading to some leaving the company entirely. I just, like, they've known that this CitizenCon is happening. The day before. They've known that this is happening for a year. Like, I don't understand how they could get to this point and be so far behind that they have to do this. Like, I don't understand how they could get to that point. Like, shouldn't they have planned it out and paced their workloads to the point where this isn't necessary? Another internal email sent to Insider Gaming in July of this year reveals that Cloud Imperium Games, quote, pre-approved 12 hours of Squadron 42 TOIL per week for developers to meet CitizenCon deadlines. The catch, the toil will only be made available after Squadron 42 ships, and employees must still be employed with the company by the time the game ships, or the toil will be forfeited. Oh. That doesn't, I mean, if Squadron 42 ever launches, which at this point is still kind of up in the air, that seems so slimy. We're going to give you 12 hours of time off in lieu, basically crediting you for having to work overtime. Not even overtime, having to work more than you agreed to. And you'll get it after it launches, and you still have to be employed here. So if we ever downsize, if anything ever changes, you're just screwed. And that money just goes away. The email continues that UK employees need to be mindful of the hours they work and are asked to have 11 hours outside work in each 24-hour period. I'm pretty sure, isn't there like a UK labor law? Isn't that the only reason they're saying this? Does anybody in chat live in the UK? Do you know anything about this? Is there a labor law that says you can't work more than like 12 hours in a day or something, or 13 hours in a day? Is that a thing? Yes. I know when I worked in like retail, I remember working at Best Buy, and okay, you need at least 11 hours between shifts, so you can't do the split shift thing like they do here in the States. Yeah, when I worked at Best Buy, it was like pretty common to close at 10 p.m. and then to have to open the next morning on like holidays. So like Black Friday, or right before Christmas, or back to school, stuff like that, when they would open early and close late. So I had shifts where I worked pretty much all day, and then I got off at 10:30, and then I had to open the store the next day at like 7 or 8. So I would get home at like 11 or midnight, and then have to be up early to open the store immediately after. And that's pretty chill as far as jobs like that work. I know people that work split shifts and will be like doing maybe 20 hours in a 30-hour period. Like, pretty insane. Pretty insane. I worked at Hastings years ago. I feel your pain. In the UK, you're not allowed to work more than 48 hours. Working Black Friday was fun, dude. Working Black Friday, I feel so bad for everybody that has to put up with that. Major red flag if they have to state that workers shouldn't work more than 13 hours a day. I mean, it's just, with all this, I view the crunch stuff in this industry specifically as just a sign of mismanagement almost all the time. Like, it's one thing if you're launching a live service game and then there's like, oh, there's a security breach and we need to go protect our customers' information. Okay, yeah, then maybe crunch. I get that. Nobody's going to shame you, I think, for protecting your customer information. But when you're just working to get like a demo done before an event you've known about for years, literally, because it's an annual thing, I don't see another way to explain that than just mismanagement. Like, they just didn't give enough developers enough time through the last year to prepare for it. Pretty straightforward. Like, yeah, it's, I don't know what else to say. Insider Gamer contacted Cloud Imperium ahead of publication and received acknowledgement, but no comment on the matter. However, 11 minutes after we reached out, another internal email to staff read, so they got the email from Insider Gaming and freaked out. Quote, I want to really thank everyone who'll be putting in extra time over the next 2 weeks. It will really make a difference at CitizenCon, as we will show our very best. To show our appreciation, all those who will be in the trenches with us over the next couple of weekends can have Monday, the 21st of October on the company as a free holiday. This hopefully will give a little break for everyone to rest after a long CitizenCon weekend and the drive towards it. As of May 2024, Star Citizen had raised over $700 million in crowdfunding. I mean, again, they're giving them a day. You're forcing them to work over 2 full weekends. Why not give them a full week off? Arasaka Corp in real life. I mean, this stuff has been very normal in the industry for a very long time, to be clear. Crunch has been a staple of the video game industry for ages, and it's why a lot of very talented programmers and engineers leave the gaming industry entirely. And it's only relatively recently that it's become unacceptable to do it. Really post-COVID. I think in COVID, people started working at home and they realized what it was like to have a healthy work-life balance. And they were like, oh yeah, this is amazing. We should never give this up. We should stick to this. And so a lot of big developers started getting rid of Crunch. Like that was the big push. Naughty Dog, notably, they worked for about a year to completely get rid of Crunch and completely get rid of that company culture, because Naughty Dog was known for ages as the Crunch company. Like, Naughty Dog, you will have an inflatable mattress under your desk for like the full year leading up to launch. It's just very common that you're going to be crunching like crazy. And they shook that. And of course, we haven't seen anything outside of remasters or remakes from them since they did that. But at the very least, they have gotten rid of that, which is part of the reason why it's taking so long to, I think, get their next game out. Because they're literally not rushing it. They've redone their company culture to the point where they do not want people to feel the need to do that, which I think is admirable. That's good. But that's crazy, man. I mean, just kind of relatively last minute telling everybody that they need to suck it up and work 2 weekends in a row. Man. Anyway. Also, I didn't realize anybody was saying this, but apparently there's been people saying that Yasuke was originally written as a regular Japanese man, like a Jin Sakai type character, and then he was changed into Yasuke later, after the 2020 George Floyd riots and stuff. I didn't realize people were saying that, but like it's pretty clearly not true. We've had rumors since like before then that Yasuke was the playable character. And Tom Henderson, who's been speaking to insiders a lot, he just came out straight and said, nope, not true. It's just wrong. Nope. And just leave it there. And I think that I it's what kind of frustrates me about these discussions is that we can have how do I want to do this? There's lots of problems with AC Shadows. There's no doubt about that. There's lots of problems, not just in how they've marketed it, but in almost everything. Like, there's a lot of problems. Even as just a game, it doesn't seem particularly interesting so far based on what I've seen. And I'm saying that as somebody who has historically really liked Assassin's Creed games, and I just don't find it particularly interesting. They haven't really marketed it that heavily for obvious reasons, but I just don't find it particularly interesting so far. Having said that, though, we can look at this stuff, the serious problems, and that is enough to talk about. Like, there's plenty there. There's no need to make up stuff. It just discredits you in your position. So I would just encourage people to be cautious and not just say stuff you want to be true for the sake of it maybe being true. Like, don't do that. Don't do that, please. Oh, dude, even Colt. Dude, what are the like fanboys gonna do now? Even Colt didn't like Shattered Space. Look at this. I put 350 hours. If you don't know Colt is like a hardcore Xbox fan. Like that's his niche, is he just covers Xbox stuff like crazy. He said, I put 350 hours into Starfield, and Shattered Space immediately turned me off. It magnified the things I've always not loved about Starfield. Sad face. Lunatoon. Damn, Colt. You too? Shake my head. The fudge is wrong with y'all. Few in between YouTubers that appear to ride the wave of hate. I don't get it. As an ambassador, I think that's a reference to the Xbox ambassador program. I don't know if they even do that anymore, but anyway. As an ambassador, you should do better. I followed you for positivity and realness. I'm not an Xbox ambassador. I've only played the first 2 hours of Shattered Space. It is painfully dull and void of production so far. I'll get back and play more when I'm done with work, but so far I'm not happy with it. Agreeing with Luke and Maddie is shameful. Regardless, if you don't like it, don't get up with those guys. Bethesda won't be sending them review codes anymore. Hell, Luke is mad because he didn't get one. Ask him. He'll tell you. I'm not mad. I find it really funny. I'm having way more fun, I guarantee you, than any of these people. This whole thing is so funny to me. Like, when you get so far down the rabbit hole of fandom, the hype, you see why I wore this shirt today? Makes you stupid. It blinds you. And eventually the infighting starts. Like, when the community has spent so much time kind of gaslighting themselves that people who don't like this game are just haters. People that are critiquing these things or that thing, they're just haters, or they rushed it, or they're being disingenuous, this or that. They can justify it for a while that way. But once even their own ambassadors start to turn on the game because even they can't defend it because it's just lazy, they just start losing their minds. I find it so funny. Agreeing with Luke and Maddie is shameful. Oh my God. It's so funny. Like, at what point do you stop and go, hold on? People that don't love Starfield don't like Shattered Space. Okay, makes sense. They didn't like the base game. They don't like the DLC. Checks out. People that did like the base game don't like the expansion or DLC. Okay. Even Xbox fans that had problems with the base game don't like the expansion. Okay. They're all bought off and it's actually amazing. Like, what? Like, at some point, when do you stop and think, maybe I'm the problem? Maybe it's me. Like, at what point does that enter into the equation? But no. For sure. It's everybody else is bought off. Damn, Colt, you too. Shake my head. The fudge is wrong with y'all few in between YouTubers that appear to ride the wave of hate. That's so funny. I guess what they want is to just be like, to have people lie for the sake of positivity. Like, it's actually really good. It's not, though. Yeah, but you're supposed to say it's really good for positivity's sake. Like, okay, if you just want people to like glaze you up and pretend that things are a certain way even when they're not, okay, but you're not living in reality then, and you don't want to, pretty clearly. Have we found Todd's Twitter alt account? Dude, that'd be so freaking funny if it ended up being Todd. I don't think so. I think Todd is even like, yeah, it wasn't our best foot forward. I was on vacation most of the time we were working on it. Oh, well. I would bet Todd's spending most of his time helping Machine Games with Indiana Jones. I think he's got way more passion for that project than this one. You know, it's just amazing. And how pathetic it is. How pathetic is it to defend a giga corporation that is selling you something that is not worth $30 for $30, and like hiding it away, keeping review codes out of anybody's hands. Even if Matty had gotten a review code early, he would have come out and said it's bad, and people would be calling him a hater. I guarantee you, if I'd gotten a review code, I would have been like, yeah, it's not very good. People would be like, oh, Luke's bought and paid for by somebody. I don't know who, whatever. Don't think about it. Shut up. You know, it's ridiculous. Oh, man. Oh, yeah. Anywho, so that's all just insanity, and I don't know. I'm looking through other stories I have that are popped up. I didn't even realize I'm following Pope Francis. I didn't know, but there's an article from Paul Tassi, or post by Paul Tassi. Hollywood budget cutting and dwindling support for diversity initiatives are disproportionately affecting people of color, according to the head of one of the largest media companies focused on black entertainment, from Bloomberg. And then Pope Francis. What is my following page? Jesus. That's funny. It's funny. Gaming news and the Pope, I guess. Just mixed in. Oh, yeah. Legacy Killa is also... People are going at it. That's funny. It took me 5 hours to finish Shattered Space's main story. One of the most baffling story DLCs Bethesda's ever done. Nowhere near the quality Far Harbor. Feels more like cut content from the base game. A lengthy side quest. Very disappointed. It's worth elaborating since some clearly can't read. I didn't speedrun shit. It took 5 hours, just 5 hours, for the main story. Another 5 or so with exploring most of Dazra and completing side quests. This DLC is $30. Shouldn't be. It's dull and boring, and yeah, I'm disappointed. No disrespect, Michael, but 5 hours means that you rushed the DLC. I'm 5 hours in and just started. Tons of people talk, and a lot of interiors and exteriors to explore. Things I said, main story only took 5 hours. Things I didn't say, I've only played for 5 hours. People can't read, dude. And I think it's maybe like a couple of hundred people that are really butthurt about people not liking it, because they like this whole last however long they've been hyping themselves up that this was going to be the Far Harbor thing, this was going to be the start of a redemption arc, whatever. But it's just not. And instead of just accepting that, they're trying to like lie to themselves or delude themselves into believing that everybody else is paid off, or everybody else is just riding a wave of hate. Again, like if everybody that claims to be unbiased, that's not claiming to be an Xbox ambassador or whatever, if everybody there is saying, I don't like it and I'm disappointed, and it's only the self-proclaimed Xbox ambassadors and fanboys, if those are the only people defending it, at what point do you stop and think, wait, maybe it just isn't bad, or maybe it just isn't good, maybe it is bad, you know? Just a reminder, guys, if you post the same message in chat over and over again, you'll get timed out. Just a heads up. I understand people want to get their messages read, but it floods the chat and it's annoying. Let's see, Chrisab, I'm sorry, the font's really small. I need to make it bigger. Hold on. Can I do this on my screen? Chris Sackber, maybe? I'm not sure. I'm sorry. I was an Elite Dangerous gamer for a while, about 100 hours maybe. I played Starfield for about an hour and gave up. It's a shell of what it could be, and everything it does, Elite Dangerous does better. I think the most telling thing about Starfield was when Todd said they only found the fun in like 2021. The game was not fun until then. And even then, I'm like, I don't feel like it's that fun even now. You know, like parts of it, the ship customization, I love that. I'll defend that all day long. But I think it's pretty telling that they didn't have a concept when they started working on Starfield that was fun. You know, they didn't start there. They started with, this is what we want to do. And they're like, we'll find how it's fun later. And that seems weird to me. Because it seems like most games you should start with a fun concept and then build that, but instead they built the game and then tried to find a way to make it fun later, which I just thought was fascinating. Basil Barrel Spinner, thank you. 5 gifted subs over on Twitch. Thank you. Very generous. Welcome everybody who just got that. Welcome, welcome. And thank you to the new followers as well. Thanks, guys. Yeah, but going to the moon was fun though. Yeah, dude. For sure. Hey, Luke, what's your thoughts on Fallout 4 after Starfield? Do you think it's a better game overall? Yeah, I've said for like the past few years that Fallout 4 is it can be really fun if you don't play it like a narrative RPG. If you play it just as like an adventure game, it's fun. But I think that that's actually one of the big things, the problems that Bethesda ran into after Skyrim, is they started trying to pitch their games as RPGs when they're not really role-playing games. They're just not. Like there are elements of role-playing games in there, but they're not role-playing games in the same sense that you could look at like a Baldur's Gate or a Witcher or this or that. There's something else. And I think what they are can be really, really fun. Like Fallout 4 as its own thing can be really fun, but you shouldn't go into it thinking that you're getting a, an RPG or a really intense narrative RPG or anything, because you're going to be disappointed. You just will be. So anyway, yeah, it's an interesting question. I just think, I think Todd said a lot before Starfield launched. He said it's a game that's very different from what we've done before, and you have to play it different. He said adventure and exploring is different in this game. And I just think I think he's right, but I just personally don't think it's good. I think exploration in Starfield is bad. It's different because I think adventuring and exploring in Fallout 4 was good. I think it was fun. Adventuring in Starfield is not fun and is bad and therefore different. I mean, even just something as simple, like the little touches you wouldn't even necessarily think of. Something as simple as having the radio to listen to in Fallout 4 when exploring the wastes. That's something that greatly enhances the experience. I still have, like, enshrined in my memory of a vision of walking through, like, Fallout New Vegas and seeing a Deathclaw for the first time while the music's playing gently behind me. And it was great. And I still remember that music tied with the exploration, tied with cool things seeing for the first time. It was fantastic. And that's obviously Obsidian, but I have similar memories in Fallout 4 of going and finding like the big crater for the first time, or finding that crashed plane in the, whatever the super like southwest area that's like super irradiated and everything. I forget what they call it. But I have memories of that while like the bops are playing. And in Starfield, there is no in-game soundtrack like that for obvious reasons. It just wouldn't make sense to have that. They could have done something, do the NASA Punk thing where Star-Lord has his cassette player and maybe you can collect songs and tracks that you find out in the world. Could have done it that way. But even something as simple as like, what are you going to listen to while you're running for 5 minutes straight in that direction to hit a POI? That wasn't even something they considered or thought about or tried to fix. I do agree the main theme of Starfield sounds good. I do like the swelling of the horns and string. I like the soundtrack, but it's very different from what they did with Fallout. And I don't personally think it's better. And again, if everybody, even like the Xbox fans, are saying this isn't good and we have problems with the exploration, we have problems with this and that, at some point, Bethesda should look up and be like, okay, well, maybe it actually just isn't that good. Defending him and lying about it and like self-deluding yourself doesn't help anything. It doesn't fix anything. It won't make their next game better. It will make it worse. Anybody who's like, well, you're just hopping on the hate train And I actually think it's not great, but like it's pretty good. Okay, do you want Elder Scrolls 6 to be of this quality? Do you? Because I'm guessing, in a moment of sincere honesty, I'm guessing those people would say no. We'd be upset if Elder Scrolls 6 were of this quality. And at that point, you should be like, okay, well then why are we making excuses? Why are you defending it? You shouldn't. That doesn't do anything. It's this weird, like, Xbox has it in droves. And I think a lot of it is the like ambassador program. It's the weird sort of delusion of personal like relationships between the gamers and the executives, where they think that like Phil is their buddy. They think that Xbox is like part of their personality. And to be fair, it happens on the Nintendo side. It happens on the PlayStation side. It's a thing that happens regardless. But I find it so bizarre how somebody can like be sold a product that is a bad product for the price point, and people will defend it and call anybody arguing from the consumer perspective, they'll call them like bought and paid for or haters or whatever. It's just, it's kind of pathetic. It's crazy. Yeah, I think that's profound, actually. I think that's very profound, Axel. People defend their choice of buying the game, not the game itself. Yeah, I think that's quite profound. I think that a lot of people feel personally attacked when you don't like something that they bought. And you could have also bought it. But you don't like it. It's as simple as that, you know? Cameron, thank you for the 5 small movie recommendations. Transformers 1 and Wild Robot, both are great. Check them out. Have a great day, Luke. Thank you, my friend. Thank you, Cameron. Yeah, the Wild Robot, I've heard a few people say that they like it. I haven't seen it, but I've heard very good things. Gotta go see it. Maybe we do that for date night this week. I wonder if I can convince my wife to do it. What's the rating? Is it something? It's PG. Maybe Lachlan would like it. Maybe I could take him. It's a DreamWorks movie. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, thank you for the recommendation. Yeah, I've heard good things. Let's see. JXC, I come back after 2 hours and we're still talking about Bethesda. Love it. Yeah, sorry, we kind of looped back to it because we found a tweet that Colt Eastwood was being called like an Xbox Bethesda hater, which is rich. You can say a lot about Colt. You cannot say that he's like bought off PlayStation fanboy. You just can't say that. And to say that is hilarious. And he's even like, yeah, I didn't really like the DLC. Not really for me. And people are like losing their minds. It's quite funny. Okay. Let's see what else we got. Oh, we should probably do a palate cleanser after all this. Whenever we talk about this stuff, we got to talk about it. Jay, thank you for the 5. Really enjoy Starfield, but I'm sorry for the hate you're getting for the DLC. Your experience is valid, even if it's not. The consensus seems to be. It seems like the consensus, my friend. But no, I appreciate you coming in and saying that. I mean, I don't really feel like I'm getting hate. Maybe I am getting hate. I don't know. I just don't read it. I say what I think and then I move on. I don't care. But I do find it hilarious that people are now attacking like Maddie and Colt for not liking it. It's like, so you said the only reason I didn't like it was because I was a hater. And now, what are you going to say about that? It doesn't really make sense. Doesn't really check out. Alphatron, thank you for the 5. Seen Wild Robot last night. It's entertaining for kids. It has strong message. If you're a parent, good luck holding back the tears. Oh, really? Uh-oh. I'm going to be an emotional wreck. Has anybody seen the new Joker movie? Is that even out yet? Or is it still a couple days out? I don't know. I've heard it's not great. I don't know what the ending is, but I've heard that it has like one of the worst endings of any movie in recent history. It's terrible. Reviews are bad. Yeah, it's October 5th. It's hard to follow up with the original. Well, it's one of it's one of those movies where it's like, why did we need to do this? Why did we need to do this? I don't really get it. It's also a musical. Yeah, like I'm not mad about the musical thing. I like musicals. They're fine. I even really like some musicals, but I don't understand why this particular movie with the story they have needed to be a musical, you know? It's like most of the movie takes place in court, it seems. And I don't know. I don't really get it. It's a cash cow now. I think they thought it would be after the first game, or after the first movie. But the first movie like came out at a really interesting time and was really like powerful and fit in with the broader cultural zeitgeist, you know. This, I just don't understand what it's meant to be, what it's supposed to, like, what the push is, you know. Let's see, anything else? Also, Maga, thank you for the sub with Prime. Thank you, my friend. By the way, I love your content. I feel like you're one of the very few content creators that's able to talk about games and the business side of gaming news. Yeah, and I mean, honestly, that's what I find particularly interesting, is the business side of stuff, because we are at a weird time. We're at a time where you can spend $200 million on a game and it can sell maybe a few thousand copies. Like, that idea 10 years ago would have been so foreign. The idea of spending that much money on a game and it not being the biggest game of the year, it just doesn't compute. It doesn't compute, but that's where we are now. It's fascinating. It's the same thing with movies too. I think COVID screwed a lot of stuff up though for a lot of like public perception of product value, where people started getting much pickier with what they bought, and now these like big executives don't know how to handle it. It's really fascinating. The next few years are going to be really cool. Jay, thank you for the 5. Matty getting hype is wild. He reports on everything for Starfield to get fans hyped, and this is how they treat him. Insane, and he doesn't deserve it. Yeah, I think that them coming at Matty is pretty cringe, because again, like, when I said my stuff yesterday, people came at me, said, oh, you rushed it, oh, you're just a hater, oh, you've always hated Bethesda, blah blah, stuff that is patently untrue, if you know anything about me. But whatever, you call me a hater, whatever. Yeah, I hate the DLC. It's not good. Sure. You know what? They probably wouldn't have time to type out such lengthy messages if they were able to still play the DLC, but they can't because it's so short. They already finished it, so they have free time. But going after Matty now is their whole assumption, which is that you only don't like it, you only dislike it because you're a hater or because you rushed it. And then somebody like Matty or Mike or Colt are like, yeah, I just don't like it. That doesn't compute anymore. The excuse doesn't work anymore. And so they're like, well, you're bought and paid for too then. We were wrong about you. And it's cringe. It's cringe. For me to come out and say I don't like the Starfield DLC, not that big of a leap. Everybody's like, yeah, I was guessing it probably wasn't going to be that good, and Luke was not going to go soft on it, so it checks out. But for Matty to come out and say that he didn't like it, and especially for like Colt to come out and say he didn't like it, that takes some balls, because their audiences are not going to respond well to that critique. So props to them. Props to them. Real quick, palate cleanser. Let's go. It's just a video of Sid the Sloth in God of War.
Hey, I'm a sloth. I see a tree, eat a leaf. That's my tracking. Come here, you little wormy worm. I just did something involuntary and messy.
So many days without meat.
What? You're not gonna eat your vegetables?
Strip off their meat.
Who
It's
you
a good
were
edit.
before doesn't matter.
You need to let go of the past so you could have a future. Ah, it's not so bad down here. Nice weather, friendly neighbors. Hi, neighbor.
I warned you.
Again with the death trap.
No thanks. I choose life. Kick his monkey butt.
We did it together, son.
Look at that big pushover.
Time to rest.
Yeah, tomorrow's the day we're all gonna die.
Oh, they even put him in there. Look at the far right. That's great. That's so funny. I will say I appreciate how hard it is to edit these things. This is crazy impressive. Like doing all of these super clean edits and stuff is not easy. Color correcting, like matching the shadows and the lighting. Like they even went so far as to do a mask of her head's shadow. That's crazy. Like attention to detail. Yeah. Better special effects than that Snow White movie, I'll tell you what. Really impressive. Go give Eli Handle _B.wave a sub. That's fantastic. Little palate cleanser for you. Okay, fam. So we have the podcast with Mr. Joel Raptor. And we're going to do that in about 20 minutes, okay? So we'll be back. We'll be talking with Joel Raptor. He has Crimson Desert impressions. He has his thoughts on the Starfield DLC, and we'll call him names too. And lots of other stuff that's going on, okay? It's going to be a good time. So take a break, stretch your legs, go have a drink, chill, whatever. In 22 minutes, we'll be back with the podcast, rocking and rolling, okay? And we'll keep talking, keep hanging out, okay? We'll be creating a separate stream event, okay? So go to Luke Stevens Live here in a couple minutes, and you'll see the new event. You can hop in there and sit in the lobby until we start, okay? So I'll see you guys in 20 minutes. Thank you to all the people who sent in super chats, follows, subs, all that stuff. You guys are amazing. I love you all desperately. I'll see you soon. Hugs and kisses. Bye-bye. See you in a sec.